Hey everybody, day 3. Today we are talking about being resilient, and I always say try and keep this short, but I appreciate that you are on. I appreciate your consistency with the group. It makes it really worth my time, even though, like I said, part of the reason is just to help me through this process also, but I hope that it's helping you too. So go back and watch day 1 and day 2 videos if you haven't yet. Let's talk about being resilient. Hey, Sammy, thanks for being on. So this is a hard topic because being resilient really is a mental struggle, especially if we have a setback in this journey. And many of you have, that's why you're in this group. But, we've talked about the mindset, and we've talked about reminding ourselves to be grateful for what we do have. And both of those things do help you become a little more resilient in this process. Some of the strongest people that I know and some of the women who I admire the most in my circle are the women who are so resilient. And I strive to be like that as we continue to move along through this process. So I just want to give you 3 tips. And again, this might be kind of like a hard pill to swallow because you can't imagine applying these tips based on where you're at in your journey right now. And, as I said yesterday, maybe it's just because wherever you're at, you aren't ready to hear this message yet, and that's okay. You can save these videos and you can go back and refer back to them anytime when you feel like you might be ready to hear the message. So here we go, short and sweet today. So basically, being resilient goes back to the way we choose to respond to a situation. And if it's if we have a negative outcome and there's a negative situation through this journey, sometimes we have to understand it's not in our control. A lot of this is out of our control, but we can control the way we respond. And hopefully these tips will help you respond in a way that makes you resilient and ready to move on and take the next step in your journey. I wrote some notes down. Okay, and this is a really important topic to me because if you've watched the other videos, you know that we're kind of in a holding pattern right now after having 2 failed transfers and no embryos left. We're kind of at like this starting over point, and I'm hoping the information that I share with you also helps me take the next step in this process. So the first tip that I have for you is to acknowledge your fear. So if you have a setback in this journey, acknowledge it and acknowledge why you are having a hard time moving forward. And, so for us, acknowledging the fear of having to start over with the process. What if it doesn't work because it didn't work twice, and just really sharing the fears that you have, but also recognizing that it can go the other way too. So it's hard to pull yourself out of negativity when you've suffered such setback, but you also have to remind yourself of what's positive too. So acknowledge what you're afraid of, and that's okay, but then also recognize, what the positive outcome may be if you try again in the process. Okay, so that's first and foremost. And, when we have a setback, and this isn't just with our infertility journey, but this is really with every area of my life. As a part of our business, we manage a very large team of fitness coaches who are, just passionate about fitness and want to help other people and really want to help improve their own fitness. And so with that, helping people run their own home-based business, we talk to a lot of people on our team who suffer a lot of setbacks. They get frustrated, they get rejection. But we also celebrate a lot of success. People who are moving forward in their business, they're paying mortgage, they're like quitting their job to stay at home with their kids. So we see both sides to it. And one thing that I've learned that I really educate them on, which I'm also educating myself on in terms of the process, is when you have a major anything that happens in your life, whether it's a success or whether it's a setback, I always tell my team, take 24 to 48 hours to celebrate if you have a success or to suffer if you have a setback. And then after that 24 to 48 hour period, make your next decision. Now, so for us, after we had the first transfer, which failed, we took 48 hours to, to cry, to be mad, to be sad. And then we tried to take that first step into trying to decide what we want to do next. So we took those 48 hours, we took the weekend, just to be together, to feel the sadness and the loss. And then on that Monday, we recouped. What do we need to do? And we decided we wanted to go forward with the second transfer as soon as possible. Now, after the second transfer failed, it's taking us a little longer to feel the failure and to be sad. We haven't, been able to make that next decision or that next step towards making a decision within 48 hours. However, after that 48-hour period of the next second failure we had, we decided we just need to live. We just need to, come back to reality and try to resume some normalcy for a little while. And so I encourage you to try to do the same. It doesn't always work. Sometimes we just can't pull ourselves out in 48 hours and we need more time. So that's okay too. But, what I've learned about this situation, I do try to apply in all areas of my life. And that seems to work well in other areas of my life. So I'm really trying to pull that concept into this as well. Okay, so 48 hours to, suffer and feel the loss that we feel, and then try to just take a baby step of making a decision of where you want to go next. And you know what? After 48 hours of a loss, maybe that decision is just trying to get out of bed in the morning. For me, the first thing that I did was work out because I was allowed to, and that made me feel good. Second tip that I have for you is to make a list of what you can control. So again, this goes back to what I shared in day one with, much of what happens in this situation is out of our control, but we can focus on how we respond to that, and that's where our power lies. And so I encourage you to make a list of what you can control. So in order for us to move forward after our setback, we're making a list. Okay, these are things that we cannot stress about because it is out of our control. Here's what we have control over. Let's make a list. And for us, on that list is the support that we have, the connection that we have as a couple. We have decided that we will go to couples counseling just to be proactive during that time because it is stressful. We listed everything that we can control. We can control the times that we go to the doctor's appointments because we fluctuate at different times. Like I'm a morning person and he's a night person. So, when is my mood the highest and when do I feel my best? The morning. So we're going to try to compromise on that and, go to early morning appointments when I'm most vibrant and have most energy. Other things that you feel like you have in your control over the situation, make a list. Okay? And then from that list of things that you can control, what can you do differently next time than you did the first time in order to move forward? I hope that makes sense. So if you're trying to be more resilient in pulling yourself out of a setback, make a list of the things that you cannot control because there's no point in stressing about those things. You have no control over them. Make a list of everything you can control. And out of that list, what did you do last time that you want to do this time but do differently? Because you have control over that situation. So I hope that helps you, and you can comment below. And, if you are trying to move forward from a loss, whether it's IVF failure or a miscarriage, oh, thank you, Stephanie. That really warms my heart. I really appreciate that you watch these and that you're finding them helpful. Figure out what you can do, what you can control. And that will help you go into the next step with a different mindset, I hope. And then, so the first one was, acknowledge your fear, feel the loss, allow yourself to have those feelings, but after 48 hours, try to make a decision on where you're going next, whether it's, we're moving forward to try and get pregnant again, or I'm deciding to get out of bed today because that's all you can do. been there. The second one was make a list of what you can control, make a list of what you can't control. Understand that what you can't control, you're not going to focus on because there's nothing you can do about that. You're leaving that into the hands of God or your higher power or your physicians. You have no control over it. So you're choosing not to focus on it. You are only going to choose to focus on what you can control. Make a list of what that is. And then the third tip that I have for you is go back to day 2. We talked about those feel-good activities. Make sure within 48 hours you do that. Take some sort of action to be resilient in moving forward. And so again, as I shared earlier, that first thing for me was a workout, because fitness is a huge part of my life. That's what I'm used to doing every single day, moving my body in some way because it makes me feel good. My workouts were very, very restricted. As you know, during the process, you have everything from reducing your impact to cutting out your workouts to bed rest. That was not the norm for me. So as soon as I got the clear and I was able to open my eyes to start to pull myself out of that funk, I went down in my basement and I worked out. And that kind of reminded me of, this is what normalcy feels like. You know, am I gonna be okay? I don't know yet, but you know, at least I'm taking a step to return to some sort of normalcy. Because as I said yesterday, you guys, no matter what happens, we'll all be okay. We will all be okay. We will all survive. And I truly believe that. So what we have to focus on is just trying to survive through the process and getting through this process the best we can in order to keep our stress level low, to remain as happy as we can, to remain as healthy as we can, both emotionally and physically. So that's all that I have for today, but I would love for you to comment below and just state a few things that you have right now in your current situation as you move in the process that you have control over. And when you recognize those things that you have control over, that gives us some power to the process. And with power comes confidence, and with power comes control, and with power comes comfort. So share the things that you have control over right now that you are choosing to focus on. Don't list what you don't have control over, because we're not focusing on that anymore. We're only focusing on what we can control, and I would love to hear that from you. We need to just continue to move forward in the process, being emotionally healthy, being physically healthy. And tomorrow I'll start talking about the physical aspect of that, what you can do during this process, of course, based on your recommendations from your doctor, in order to lead a physically healthy life, and why that is so important during this process. I'm also going to have my husband film a really short video that I'll post for you guys tomorrow. We talked a little bit about it at breakfast this morning, and how he can contribute in some way, because, you know, although this is a group just for women, we can't forget our partners, and he's going to share a little bit from his perspective as a partner too. So I hope that will find that helpful, and if it does help you, you could share that with your partner too, whether that partner is male or female, or if you don't have a partner and you're going through this process with a sperm donor, or maybe adoption, you have that, hopefully you have that go-to close person to you, and that information might help them as well. So thank you guys for being on. As you continue to watch, or you go back and watch from the beginning, comment below, share your thoughts, share your comments. And I also, last thing I want to tell you, I'm still working on daily affirmations, because some of you have requested that we talk about that. And so I'll do a post later tonight or tomorrow morning on affirmations, and we can share some insight to that as well. All right, thank you guys so much for being on. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.